everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Teach Better Today morning show, where the Teach Better team gets to join you live every single morning, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern. I have an incredible new guest with me again. And so if you are listening on Teach Better Talk, you may not know yet who this is. But if you're watching, I bet she is very familiar to you. Grab your cup of coffee. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, good morning. I have Natalia with me. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing great. It's actually morning, so it's pretty early.
I know. I love that this show is able to be a part of people's morning, get ready for the day. Maybe they're listening as they're, picking out their outfit or getting ready and driving to work. So many good things that we can do here. If our friends are tuning in this morning and they're not familiar with you, would you mind sharing a little bit about who you are and what you do in education?
Of course, I'd love to. And thank you for having me. My name is Natalia Heckman. I work for Seidlitz Education. It's an educational consulting company. I'm a former English 2 teacher. I'm the author of the book, Building Better Writers. And I'm so excited to meet you and answer some of your questions and hopefully use or share some of the things that may be helpful to educators really at pre-K through grade 12.
Yeah, that is absolutely going to be a topic that our community is excited about. We're constantly thinking about how to reach more learners, and especially with your background, plus the work you're doing now, holy cow, I can only imagine that you have a lot to share. So if you were to explain a summary of your book that you wrote, which by the way, congratulations, writing a book, that's a huge accomplishment. What do you feel like is the right summary for what your book challenges teachers to solve?
Well, let me just start with a little bit of a background, because I think it makes sense when I just share just a little bit of what I do and who I am. I'm a language learner, and Seidlitz Education is really well known for producing and publishing resources and offering trainings with the resources for teachers of multilingual learners. So I consider myself an English learner. I'm a multilingual learner. I'm Russian. That's my first language. I came to the United States as an adult, but I still had to, go through a very similar pathway that many of our students go through, especially if you have newcomers who are secondary newcomers in your school, on your campus. So one of the challenges that my students experienced, and I became a teacher. I taught English 2 for quite a bit. And I worked with students who were brand new to the language, brand new to the country. So they were learning just so many things at the same time. And of course, it was overwhelming, but the amount of grit and the amount of effort that they put in learning, it's really sometimes surprises all of us. It's just we're in awe of our students' effort. But writing per se, that language domain. So if we look at the language as a multifaceted essence, so it would be, let's say, like writing, reading, literacy pieces, and then oracy, of course, listening and speaking. So writing is quite challenging, and that is something that's being tested over and over and over again. Most of our tests are on paper. So that's where the idea for the book came around. So we wanted to have a resource. I wanted to have a resource that gave some tools to English language arts teachers who have multilingual learners in their classrooms, that explained a little bit how different it is to offer language support to multilingual learners as opposed to teaching English as an ELAR class to native speakers of English, because they're two different things. Of course, the ELAR world and the ESL world, or SLA world, second language acquisition world. So I wanted to bring those a little bit closer together. So that's why this resource has most of it is activities for students, but has some research pieces that explains those differences.
I love that your desire to bring perspective to teachers about their students so we can better understand them, better support them, includes activities. Like that is everyone's favorite thing about picking up a good teacher book is not just conceptual ideas, but actual tactical things we can go do with students. So that is a huge win in my book.
Yes, and that's exactly where we started. So I always tell, like when we do trainings, and we don't just publish books. We provide trainings that come with the book. So I always say, like, you guys turn the book to the side. Look at this whole thing right here. Those are activities. The purple pages, those are sentence level games and activities, and the orange ones, that's the composition unit. So for the most part, this is what you need to this is what you'll be using on daily basis. Everything else, but I still wanted to have some of the parts of the book that like really explain why we're doing things a certain way. I would never expect anyone to just pick up a resource and implement some things based on my personal experience. Like, just this is how things happen in one classroom. And to be completely honest, as a teacher, I knew some things that worked, but I did not know why they worked till I started doing the research for this book. And that
Sure.
things that as teachers we want to know why is it a certain way, why do I do it this way and not maybe something that sounds good too, can I just do it differently? And we'll say, well, that's absolutely, we can do many things differently, but the result might be completely different from what you expect. So
I love this. If you are watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, or LinkedIn, you can see her book. But for those of you listening on the Teach Better Talk podcast, I want you to know this is a pretty thick piece of support, and about half of it is what she's showing us is activities and different lessons. I'd say like the other half is where you share those stories, that data, that research. And I think educators that want to do things well often first look for the quick fix, right? What's the activity? And then as they see success, many of us are like, okay, why did that work? Right? Now you got me hooked, right? So I love that you're able to provide so many different types of support for educators, depending on what we're interested in, what we have time to dive into, and the types of people that we have in our classroom. So Natalia, this sounds amazing. Give us the title of your book in case anyone missed it early on in our conversation.
The book is titled Building Better Writers, and it says on the cover that it's for ELAR teachers of multilingual learners in grades 3 through 12. So it's really starting early on. There's so many things that you can do with students who are just learning to write, but then it extends into longer pieces at the paragraph and the composition level, so it can support your learners throughout their journey into the language, into literacy.
Natalia, I'm loving this conversation. We will be right back to continue this incredible content. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Teach Better Today morning show, where we're able to join you live, be a part of your morning, and hopefully give you some new people to connect with, add to your PLN. We definitely have a wonderful teacher and educator, consultant doing so many things, good things in the field that you should continue to connect with. Natalia, as we are reflecting on the Teach Better family, I think our community here is constantly looking for a few different things. One is resources, which holy cow, you absolutely have access to. I love that you're able to put such great insight into the world. The other thing is, as you're headed into your day, maybe you're listening to this podcast while you're getting ready for your students to come into your classroom. A lot of things that our educators are looking for is little things that they can keep in mind as they head into their day ahead or as they head into their week to be a little bit better in, the variety of areas we can as educators. So if you were to give our community, maybe a quick tip or a quick strategy or a quick food for thought that they should be thinking through, where would you like to direct them today?
Now, and this is not necessarily a strategy, but it's maybe just a perspective. So I would like to share that very often, and educators are so hard on themselves. So this is something that we are our own worst critics, and that's true. So let's say that you, and I'll give an example. Let's say you taught your students to form past tense. So there's some irregular verbs, or you add ed. So you had a lesson. And then you practiced maybe some, you used some of the exercise, maybe you played the game. Then you offer independent writing practice, and your students still miss almost every single verb is not in the past tense. So you start second guess yourselves. And that's something that is so common. Well, in language acquisition journey, there are some things that cannot be controlled by the learner, and that's where that research piece is so important. You can wake up in the morning and say, okay, today I'm going to use every single verb correctly in the past tense. It's not going to happen. So there's always there's that natural pathway of language acquisition where some things just happen when they happen, and they do not care what your curriculum says. So when the learners are ready, they will use that form correctly, but it does not mean that we should not be teaching it and supporting our learners. So they're really knowing that it's not that I taught it incorrectly, or it's not that my kids are not trying, because there are certainly there's certainly more than that. And that's an example. So they're just having the realistic expectations, knowing that languages for different learners develop differently. And there's some things, it's not a straight line. It does not rely on effort alone. There's some things that we really as learners cannot control. So things like that give educators a peace of mind, saying, hey, we are working on that, and that's going to take time. And especially if it's writing domain, relies on so many different skills that have to be carefully orchestrated and automated, where the students are comfortable writing eventually. So things like that are just addressed in the resource from the language acquisition perspective. But also just simple concept that in order for us to become better writers, we need to write more. We need to have those meaningful writing opportunities that very often lie outside of the workbook or the worksheet. That is not something that might be necessarily building our skills. It can be done in that meaningless, mechanical kind of rote way. So that's why there's so many activities that help learners or help us as teachers to create that communicative context, where we create a situation, for example, where this particular language form is used, and then give students the opportunity to play through it in a more of a fun way using that form. So trying to get away from the worksheet or workbook as much, or maybe just if you choose to add some more fun activities to your classroom, that's where this resource lies.
I love those two things to keep in mind for students. And this is all students, regardless of the types of students that sit in your classroom today, thinking through not only how to bring in real world application, those engagement strategies that are beyond the content teaching, but actually applying the information, seeing where it fits. And then also remembering that, every hiccup does not mean that we necessarily did something wrong. As teachers, we're constantly today was so tough, when in reality, it was really just one student and one specific class that we had that, gave us a more challenging day. And we need to celebrate those wins, celebrate those positives. We're not looking for perfection from students. We're looking for growth. What amazing strategies we can think through today. Natalia, do you mind giving us how we can stay connected to you? I want to make sure our community connects with you on social media, gets to know you as a person, and continues the conversation. And also, of course, those educators listening that are interested in your books and resources can go over and hopefully grab those as well.
I've been pretty active on Twitter. So I learned how to use Twitter during the pandemic. And I know so many people now are switching to different platforms. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I have to learn something new. Okay. But Twitter is probably the best way to stay in touch. And it's at Natalia ESL. Facebook is also have professional Facebook, Natalia Heckman. I do stay in touch pretty much with anyone who's using the book to offer support. So yes, please reach out. And I also have a blog that I keep. Well, I missed a couple of parts there where I try to post almost every month or so. But there is a blog that I have that you can also follow along with.
That would be wonderful. I want to encourage everyone here to continue to grow their PLN, their professional learning network, get to know the people that are a part of your circle of learning, and continue to keep the Teach Better family in mind. If you are looking for something and you just can't seem to find it, we can probably connect you with somebody who has at least a starting position for you. Natalia, thank you so much for joining the conversation and being a part of our Teach Better family. We're so, so glad to officially have you in it. It's so wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So fun. For everyone else, we hope you have an amazing day. Please reach out if you need anything. Hey, Teach Better community. Thank you so much for joining the Teach Better Today morning show every single weekday at 7 a.m. Eastern. We have so many resources for you outside of this live stream at teachbetter.com, including blogs, podcasts, and professional development that will bring our team to your school. Wherever you are listening from this morning, please make sure you are sharing and celebrating the incredible educators in this world. And hey, if you are listening over on a podcast to Teach Better Talk, we would love a 5-star review. The comments are always so entertaining. We'll see you tomorrow.